Hi everyone, and welcome to Foundational Yoga. My name is Terry. We're going to do a basic foundational class today with some of the more basic poses. We're really going to take our time to work through them. So it's a great class if you're new to yoga or you just want to spend some time on some of the poses. So if you have a yoga mat, go ahead and get that out. If not, you can use a blanket or a large towel. So we're going to start today on our backs. So coming all the way down to your mat, coming down to the sit bones, stretching those legs out in front of you, and just relax into the mat, finding that comfortable position in which you can really come onto the mat and relax for a few breaths. Now for some people, they don't like their legs straight out in the front, so you can actually bend into the knees. You can tent the knees forward, open the feet as wide as the mat, and that's pretty relaxing on the lower back. For a hip opener, you can take the feet, connect the soles, and relax those knees open, sort of like a butterfly pose. That's a pretty big hip opener for the first part of class. So find what feels best in your body and begin to settle in here. Take a few moments to just check in. How are you feeling today? How is the physical body? Emotionally? And energetically? Take a moment and notice the shoulders. Can you relax them further into your mat? And now notice the hips. And again, can you relax a bit? Feel them melting into that mat. Notice the head and the length through the spine. The head is nice and tall on top of that spine. The foundation of yoga is the breath. So we often start our classes by slowing down and coming to the breath. You might like to place your right hand on your abdomen and the left hand on the chest or the heart. And on your next inhale, begin to lengthen that breath. If you can breathe through the nose, that's usually what we try to do in yoga. So as long as you're able to, take a nice full inhale through the nose. Allow that air to travel down all the way to the belly rounding. And as the belly rounds, notice the right hand lifting and continuing to fill. The lungs expand. The collarbones separate. And as we exhale, we start at the top. The left hand drops as the ribs settle back in. Coming further down as the belly empties, the right hand will drop. The belly button drops towards the back of the spine. These are complete filling inhales and equally long emptying exhales. And as you focus on that breath and you encourage it to deepen, can you keep the focus there? Oftentimes, the mind will wander when we start and focus on the breath. Acknowledge the thoughts and then come back to those breaths.
continue for 2 more rounds, really allowing the body to fill with that air, to notice the expansion. And as you exhale, noticing as the lungs empty and the body relaxes back into the mat. After that final exhale, again, take note of how the body feels. And let's place the hands to heart center, relaxing back through the shoulders, and take a moment to set an intention for the practice today. Lots happening in the world, lots happening in all of our lives. Maybe you'd like to set an intention to the world as a whole. Simply make that intention that you focus throughout this practice, this time, this moment. And once the intention is set, flutter those eyes open and take in the ceiling above you if you're indoors, or if you're outdoors like me, take it in the sky, any clouds. We're going to put our hands at our sides, bend into the knees now, if you haven't already bent, and hug them into the chest. Take a moment here to rotate back and forth, kind of giving those hips a little gentle massage. You're going to slowly roll over to either the left or the right side of the body. And with that top arm, pushing yourself back up into a seated position. So we're going to come into a nice seated position, and this can look different for each of us. If it's not comfortable to cross the legs because you have knee discomfort, or it's just not comfortable in the hips, you can always take the legs and place them out in front of you. You can open that up a little bit wider or find a position that feels nice for you. I oftentimes like to take a blanket and sit up on the blanket, and that gives my hips a little bit of a lift, which then oftentimes makes this comfortable seated position truly more comfortable for me. So find that spot that feels just right in your body. And then we're going to lift the shoulders up, kind of around the ears on the inhale. Exhale, release those shoulders back down, and as you do that, spine is nice and tall. Crown of the head is lifting. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release. Just some beautiful opening, some rotation there, allowing those shoulders to relax with that nice tall spine. I'm going to do a little bit more work for the shoulders. We're going to open the arms up like a T. Turn the hands over so the palms are facing up. Bend into the elbows and touch the top of the shoulders. Inhale to open this nice and wide. Exhale, touch the elbows together. Inhale to open. Exhale, touch them together, and feel the stretch along the back of those shoulders. Feel that stretch along the shoulder blades in the back. A couple more times on your breath. Just that open and closing action. This time we're going to open up back into that T once again. You take the left hand, come under the right hand, crossing all the way over. Give yourself a nice hug. Lift the elbows high. Just feel that opening. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale to open. And this time the right arm's going to come under, and you're going to do the same thing, hugging the opposite side, lifting those elbows nice and high. Keeping the spine long and the hips heavy. Breathing in here. And next inhale, opening once again, open to that T. Relax the hands down along the sides. Shoulders are relaxed down the back. Inhale, arms overhead. Take the right hand and grab onto that left wrist. Really lift high. Keeping those hips nice and heavy. Can you kind of tip over, but keep that left hip nice and heavy? You might want to look up underneath the left arm. Feel the stretch along the left side of the body. Inhale, back up. Both arms nice and high, and this time the left grabs the right wrist. Same thing again, feel that stretch along the right side of the body. And tipping over, right hip stays heavy. You might want to look up underneath that right bicep. Inhale, back up. Both hands nice and long. Exhale, release onto the mat. We're going to come up to our hands and knees for a tabletop position now. And when we do that, you might want to have that blanket underneath the knees as a little bit of a cushion. So tabletop position, we'll start off by saying the knees are hip-width distance. So if you take the two fists together and place them between the knees, that really gives you that hip-width distance for most of us. So you're going to have the knees hip-width distance. The hips will be over the knees, and the feet are flat on the mat. Coming to the top, you want the shoulders over the elbows, elbows over wrists. So you have this nice tabletop position. The back is long, and the head is out to the front. So you're not bending the head down or lifting up. You have this nice long neutral spine looking to the front of the mat. And take a moment to look into those hands and notice that they're supported through the pads of the fingers and along the knuckles and the joint area. Don't dump into the center of the palm, almost like you want to think of having a little suction cup for the palms, and that also will give you some protection for the wrist. So you find this nice position. The pointer finger is pointed forward. Thumb is open like a check mark. So you have this nice, strong foundation, this nice base for your tabletop position. On an inhale, we're going to lift the head, lift the tail. Allow that belly to relax down as you inhale. This is a cow position. Exhale, drop the head, drop the tail, come up like a mad cat. Really pull that belly in. Inhale, again, the belly relaxes. And you come up for that cow position. Might feel nice here to close the eyes. Feel that motion in the spine as you really open the spine. Begin to warm it up a bit before the practice. Inhale, lifts the tail, lifts the head. At the end of the inhale, when you begin the exhale, then you come back into that cat position. So again, this can be as slow or as fast as you like, as long as you're allowing the breath to lead you here. After that next exhale, coming back into our neutral spine, once again, that tabletop position. Relaxing into those shoulders. We're going to step the right foot back, curl the toes in, and really feel opening along the back of that right leg. So you can feel it definitely in the calf, all the way up, possibly into the into the hamstrings in the back of the leg. Inhale, find length. Try not to dump into the hands here. Find some strength there. Exhale, push that heel back to again open up the back of the leg. Inhale forward. Exhale, push the heel back. Inhale. Exhale one more time and open up the back of that leg. On your next inhale, we're going to place that knee back down. And let's do the same thing now with the left. So curling those toes under, nice and firm through that supported hands. Push the heel back, opening up the back of that leg. Inhale forward. Exhales open. And 2 more times on your breath to feel some nice stretch for the back of that leg. On your next inhale, place that knee to the mat, curl both toes under, and we're going to sit back onto the heels now. So relaxing through the shoulders, hands on the thighs. It's a big opener for the back of the feet. This is a nice time to give the wrist a little bit of attention. So placing those hands out in front, and a nice rotation. Go in one direction and then the other direction. interlace the fingers here. Bring them around, really open up. Lift both hands up. Take the left hand onto those right fingertips and gently open them up. And the same thing on the other side, left hand up. Just a nice opening. And then probably by this point your feet are asking you to come down off those heels. Rotate those wrists one more time. Come back down to the mat. Release the toes and just tap them out a little bit, waking them back up. Touch the big toes now and open up the knees as wide as the mat. We're going to set back onto the heels and stretch into a child's pose. So stretching the arms out in front, you can really melt the abdomen between the thighs here. Resting the head to the mat. Now if that is not comfortable, you can take the hands into fist and place the head onto there. You can place a block or a blanket under the head. But find a comfortable position here once again. Child's pose is a resting pose. And at any time you can come to this pose to take a break and reconnect to the breath. On your next inhale, we're going to lift back up and come back into that tabletop pose once again. So taking a look at those fingers again, pointer finger forward. This time I want you to bring instead of having everything completely lined up, shift the hands forward just a bit. We're going to come into our first downward dog. So the hands will be just a bit forward. Curl the toes, and we're going to lift the hips nice and high, but you can keep the knees bent. So as you lift, the hips are coming high. Now you might want to open up into one knee and then the other. That walking the dog action, back and forth motion. Bend into both knees, lift the hips high, and now straighten into the legs. Notice the heels. They're dropping down towards the mat, but don't have to touch the mat. But you should be able to notice that the heels are behind those ankles, so they're not kind of coming in or out, but straight behind. So they're hiding behind those ankles. On an inhale, we're going to lift the right leg nice and high. Bend into that knee. Place the knee underneath and come towards the face. Inhale, open back up. This time we're going to exhale. Step that right foot through, helping it up to come into a runner's lunge. So runner's lunge, you want to have the belly kind of off the thigh. Hands are down. So sometimes blocks here are a really good thing to use. Exhale, we're going to release the left knee to the mat, uncurl those toes, lift the hands up to the right thigh, relax the shoulders down the back. We're coming into a low lunge. Breathing here. You can shift forward just a bit to feel the stretch in this left thigh, making sure that the knee is not way past the ankle on that right foot. A little further would be to lift the arms overhead. Find that lengthened stretch. Maybe release back, just slight back bend. Exhale, place the hands back down around those feet, that front foot. Curl the left toes and lift once again to that runner's lunge. Inhale. On your next inhale, step the left foot up to meet the right. We're coming into a forward fold here. Start by placing the hands on the shins. We're going to do a half lift. So we're lifting the spine long. Try not to lock out those knees. You could even bend into the knees as you exhale and forward fold, bending down. Relaxing in. Taking both arms, cross the arms. That extra counterweight to allow the spine to be long. Exhale, release the hands towards the mat, and on an inhale, slowly rise up, one vertebrae at a time. Shoulders down the back. Head lifts last. I'm going to come into our mountain pose here. So mountain pose, starting with the feet,
Lift the toes, feel the feet, really ground into that mat, really connect to your mat. Continuing all the way up the body for this nice tall length through the spine, all the way to the crown of the head. Shoulders are relaxed, the arms are open to the side. Beautiful mountain pose. A lot of strength in the pose, core is nicely engaged, so that's all the way around, protecting that spine. Bring the arms down, around, and up. Find that length once again for that big stretch. All the way to the top of the mat. Exhale. Hinge at the hips once again for that forward fold. Hands down to the mat. Place the right foot back this time. We're coming into a runner's lunge again on this side. So again, can you find some length here? Head looking forward without dumping into that front thigh. Exhale, release the right knee. Release those toes. Engage the core as you come up for that low lunge. And take a moment to set yourself up here. Find your balance. Inhale, arms will come up overhead. Length. Again, noticing that the knee is not way past that ankle. Inhale, and as you exhale, you might want to slightly do a back bend, keeping the core engaged, protect that spine. Inhale back, hands around that front foot, curl the toes, and once again coming up to your runner's lunge. You next inhale, right foot up to meet the left, and again half lift, hands on those front shins. Exhale, release for the forward fold. And again, bending the knees is totally okay in your forward fold. The goal is the length in the spine. Inhale, slowly rise up. Coming back into that mountain pose position. Relax the shoulders down the back. Head lifts, arms overhead, and connect the heart center. Bring it back into your mountain pose. Take a few breaths there. Placing both hands on the hips. Sorry about that. Placing both hands on the hips, we're going to come into a warrior two. So you're going to take the left foot, step it nice and open, and the outside of that foot is going to be parallel to the short side of the mat. So the connection here is the outside of that left foot, and we're going to have our right leg will be bending. Now, as you did that, you notice that the hips opened, and that is what we want in a warrior two. This is a very big hip opener. So you have that outside of the left foot is attached. When you bend into that front leg, if you notice that that knee goes way past the ankle, open the stance up a bit. So there's a lot to pay attention to here. Think of the connection of the foot, that ball of the big toe, the heel for that front foot. The side body is nice and long. So you're open to the side. We're going to bend into the front leg. When you do, look again at that knee. Should be open enough that it's lined up with the ankle, not past it. And oftentimes when you bend into that front knee, you automatically notice that it falls forward. That's not great on that knee. So you want the knee to open to the outside, and you should be able to see the big toe on that right foot. So you have all that alignment. Again, the hips are open, so you're looking to the side of the mat. Now open those arms up like a T. Breathe here. Looking out across those front fingertips. Shoulders are relaxed. Might feel nice to rotate the hands a few times to encourage the shoulders to relax. Breathing, holding that pose. On an inhale, we're going to flip our front palm. We're going to reverse the warrior. So when you do this, can you keep that commitment to the front knee being bent? Inhale, left hand comes back, right arm comes forward. Sun got my eye there. And you're going to feel a nice stretch across that right side of the body. Big stretch, nice open. Inhale, back to that warrior two. Relax into the shoulders once again. Bend into that front arm. Place the forearm along the top of that thigh. Left hand's behind, place it now to the hip. Open up that left shoulder. You find expansion across the front. Don't dump into this right arm. You don't want to be leaning into it. It's just kind of placed there to give you that stretch. I'll take the left hand, coming down and around. Feel a stretch now along the left side of the body. And again, try not to dump into that right arm. We're going to inhale all the way back up to our warrior two. Take a breath. Place the hands on the hips, straighten into that front leg. Turn all 10 toes to the long side of the mat. So you have this big, wide pose here. Shoulders are going to be relaxed. Find length of the spine. Inhale. On an exhale, we're hinging at the hips. So you're coming into a wide leg forward fold. As you come down, you might have a block here where you can place the hands down onto the mat. Length in the spine is what you're going for here. Exhale. Don't lock out the knees. Kind of take a moment and notice where is the weight in the feet. Can you equalize it so it's not all in the balls or all in the heel, but kind of in between. Exhale. You might go a little bit deeper. Wherever you are, placing that spine nice and long once again. Engage into the core and place the hands to the hips. Inhale, we're lifting up with that nice tall spine. Close the eyes. Take a few breaths here. Oftentimes when the head is below the heart, you might feel a little bit dizzy. Opening up the eyes, turn those left toes now towards the back of the mat. And you're set up perfectly for that warrior two on this side. So again, hips are open to the side. Those toes are facing the front on the left foot this time. Outside of that right foot's really connected. Nice and long through the body, core's engaged, bend into that front leg. And take that moment to check in. Did the knee fall forward? Having it open. Can you see that front big toe? Length through the side body as you open up into that T position. Looking out across the fingertips. Relax the shoulders down the back. Flipping our front palm, we're going to inhale to reverse this warrior once again. Right hand towards the back of that leg on the calf. Feel the stretch along the left side of the body. Keeping that knee bent if possible. Inhale back up to that warrior two. This time it's the left arm that will bend. Just resting it on that thigh without dumping. Hand to the hip. Open up that shoulder. Finding length. And don't forget to breathe. When we hold poses, we don't hold the breath. You want to breathe in the pose, feel the body, feel the stretch. Arm comes back, down and around, and now that stretch on the right side. Again, what's happening in that left arm? Inhale back up to your warrior two. Place the hands to the hips, straighten into that front leg, all 10 toes back to the side of the mat. We're going to come into goddess pose here. So you might want to tighten that pose up just a bit. This time the toes are facing out because we're going to bend into the knees. And when you do, you want those knees to be tracking the toes. So again, protecting the knees. So really engage the core here. Bend into those legs, into a squat. So this is a goddess pose. Now when you did that, did the booty flip back? Can you bring that booty kind of down so that the pelvis is more neutral? You can place the hands at heart center or open them up for the goddess position. A little more challenge would be to lift the left heel, placing it back down. Lift the right heel, place it back down. Relax the shoulders. Can you lift both heels? Everyone's shaking here, don't feel bad. Both heels back down, hands to heart center. Lifting all the way back up. Beautiful job. Placing those hands to the hips, step back up to the top of the mat. Find that length once again. Arms are going to come down, around, and up. Nice stretch. Hinging at those hips. Coming back into your forward fold. Placing the hands to the mat. Step back into your downward dog. Taking a few breaths there. Exhale, release the knees to the mat. Sit back to those heels and come into your child's pose. Close the eyes. Take a few nice breaths there. On your next inhale, we're going to lift back up, coming back into that tabletop position. Finding strength in the core. Curl those toes and lift back up to downward dog. Hips are nice and high. Heels are melting towards the mat. Now look in between the hands, and we're going to walk the feet up in between the hands. Coming back into our forward fold once again. Inhale to rise. Arms overhead. Palms connect. Heart center. So we're going to come back into a little bit of a balance pose now. So a little bit more work for the shoulders also before we do. So we're going to open up into that T position once again. So nice and open. I want you to place the right arm above the left arm down with the palm facing the back. We're going to take that left arm, walk it up the back. You're going to bend into the right arm and see if you can bind those together. You're bringing them together like this. So that's a big opening again along the shoulders. Take some breaths there. Relax. The shoulders open. Right elbows nice and high. Now if you can't hold on to the hands, that's totally fine. Grab onto the clothing. Inhale. On your next exhale, release the bind if you haven't. Without fleeing, open those arms back up. Kind of shifting back and forth. We're going to do the same thing again. Right arm's going to come down with the palm back. Left arm up. And I'm going to show you what I mean about that connecting without the actual bind. So releasing the left hand down, bending into the right arm. If the hands don't touch, hold on to the clothing. Each side is really different. I oftentimes cannot bind with my left arm over. Each side can be different depending on the shoulders. Take a few breaths there. Find length. And your next inhale, opening back up once again to that T position. This time we're going to cross the arms like we did on the mat earlier, left under the right. I want you to, instead of doing the hug, see if you can kind of wrap those arms around each other into what we call eagle arms. Now if that is not comfortable, you can go back to that hug that we did at the beginning. You can cross and have the outside of the arms, hands touching, or if you can come all the way around, the inside of the palms. So whatever you're finding is comfortable for you, can you lift the elbows up nice and high, finding some length there. So again, nice opening to the shoulders. Now a little further, we're going to go into our balance here. So put everything, all that energy into the left foot. Lift those left toes, really feel that left foot grounding into the mat. Come up to the toes on the right foot. the right foot. Lift the knee. Find balance here. A little further, might be to cross that right foot over that thigh, wrapping the foot around the shin. And find balance. You can also put the foot down. Notice again where the elbows are at. Breathing here. We're going to slowly unwind that foot, placing the right foot back onto the mat. Release the bind with the hands, opening up. Maybe it might feel good to go back and forth a few times. Relax into the shoulders. And this time, everything into the right foot. All that energy in the right foot, opening up those arms, right arm under. And again, find that position that feels best for you. Each side might be different. So maybe this time it's easier to come around and bind, or maybe the outside of the hands. So finding that position of comfort, a little bit of a challenge, but a comfort. And breathe here first. Come up to the toes on the left foot. Anytime we do a balance, we always talk about a drishti, something that you can look at. So because your arms are right in front of you, your drishti might be those arms or just past the arms. Bending into that knee and lifting. Whoops. And crossing over. You have options here. You come all the way around. You can place that foot down. But find the breath. On an inhale, we're lifting that leg back up, unwinding, placing that foot back to the mat. Release the bind without flinging, and rotate back and forth just a few times there. Relax into the shoulders, hands to heart center. And smile. I always remind people, whenever we balance, it becomes very serious. But it's not, it's just yoga. Enjoy what the body can do. And it's a practice. So each time you might do something different. Coming back to the top of the mat, and place those arms down, rounding up. Finding that length once again. Exhale, hinging at those hips. Coming back into that forward fold. Hands are flat on the mat, stepping back once again to your downward facing dog. Find that upside down V. At some point, downward dog is actually a resting pose in yoga. Those heels are hidden behind the ankles. Exhale, bend into the knees, all the way to the mat, toes touch. Come back into your child's pose. Find the breath. On your next inhale, we're going to come all the way back up to our seated position. So if you have a blanket handy, it might be a great time to grab it. And we're going to fold it up so it's not too large, but gives you a little bit of a lift. Placing it onto the mat and coming to the edge of that so that the hips again are lifted just a bit. So we're going to connect the soles of the feet here and sit nice and tall. Coming into that butterfly pose. And again, just take a moment to check in. Are you pulling into this pose? You feel like you're trying to really fight it? Can you find some relaxation? Check out the shape of your diamond that your legs make, and maybe make that diamond a little bit larger or pull it in a little bit tighter. But what feels nice for you is what's right for you. So find length in the spine. Relax into the position. This is a big opener for the groin, the inside of those thighs. So just take a few breaths here first. Again, length.
exhale and hinge at those hips like we did in the forward fold. Placing the hands out in front. Close the eyes and find the breath. As you inhale, find length through the spine. As you exhale, you might be able to come a little bit further down. Not a have to. Don't pull yourself into a position. When we pull ourselves, the body actually tightens, which is the exact opposite of what we want. We want relaxation here. Inhale, find length. Exhale, release. As you get further down, you might allow that spine to really relax so it's not as long. Wherever you are, I want you to take the hands, place them onto the ground, engage into the core, and on an inhale, begin to lift yourself back up to that seated position. You want to take your time coming out of positions. Oftentimes we pull ourselves quickly out of a position, and that's when we might injure ourselves. You're finding yourself relaxing in something, so bring yourself back out of it slowly. Placing the hands behind the knees, close them up like a book. Relax into the shoulders. We're going to slowly come down to our backs. Coming onto that mat, as you slowly come down, hug the knees into the chest. Do a nice little rotation here, just a gentle back and forth. Feel that relaxation for the back. Guide the knees over to the left side of the body. When you do that, if the legs feel like they're splayed or you can't relax them there, you might want to take that blanket and place it between the legs or on top of the leg. But if they're relaxing here, you can also take the left hand and place it on top of that right knee to give a little bit of a counter pressure to relax it further. Once the bottom half of that body is in that nice twist and it's relaxed, now put focus onto the shoulders. Can you open up the right arm so that that allows that right shoulder to relax onto the mat? If you're not using the left hand as that weight, opening the left hand up into that T. And take a few breaths here. A little bit deeper for this twist would be to turn the head and look over the right shoulder. Where can you relax? Where are you holding tension in the body? Can you relax the jaw? Can you relax the shoulders? Twist can be very good for our internal organs, for our digestion. If you turn the head to look over that right shoulder, on an inhale, bring it back that you're looking straight up to the sky or the ceiling. Stretch those legs out along the left side of the mat, and then roll yourself back onto your back. Hug the knees back into the chest. A little bit of a rotation once again will feel nice. And this time, guide those knees to the right side of the body. And setting yourself again up on this side, starting with that lower half of the body, finding the twist and what works best in your body. And once you have found that and you're relaxed, now open up the top part of the body, shoulders melting into the mat. A little deeper is to look over the left shoulder. And calm the mind. Calm the breath. Again,
Release the tension that you hold in the jaw. Encourage the shoulders to melt further into the mat. If you turn the head over that left shoulder, inhale looking back up. Stretch the knees out in front. The legs out in front of you. Roll onto the back. Bending into the knees once again. Doing that nice rotation. Really relaxing into the back here. We're going to come into our happy baby now. So you're going to reach the hands in between the legs. Reach for the outside of the feet. As you do, feel like the feet are standing on the ceiling. And when you do that, the thighs then are parallel to the mat and the shins are perpendicular. So you have this right angle. Notice though what's happening in the sacrum of that, or the butt. Is it lifting up? Can you relax it down? Some people like to take happy baby. They like to rotate back and forth a few times. You can stay stagnant, encouraging the knees to come down towards the armpits or the sides of the ribs. Feel this nice stretch. What feels good here? Some people like to open their legs up on one side and then the other. Kind of a stretch. A few more breaths there. Release the feet. Lift those legs nice and high in the air. You hold them there for a few seconds, taking the hands and relaxing them along the sides. Relax the shoulders. Allow the nervous system to relax. Exhale, bend into the knees. We're going to set up for final Shavasana. So again, you can take your blanket at this time. It might feel nice to take the blanket across the abdomen for grounding. You can stretch the legs out in front of you. You can do that butterfly pose again. Now that we've done a practice, you might have a little bit more opening through the hips. That might feel nice. But find comfort here in this pose. Shavasana pose is so important to our practice. Corpse pose is the English version of Shavasana. So you want everything to be completely relaxed, completely still. So let's focus on that jaw again. Release the tension. Allow the eyes to be heavy in their sockets. Maybe open the mouth. Move that jaw around a little bit. Moving the tongue back and forth. Now closing the jaw, allowing the lips to touch, the tongue to relax.